All right, everybody. Well, welcome back to our second week. Like we said, we're going to talk about more Oklahoma specific topics here. And so, just in case if you're tuning in, I'm Quentin Scott, my co host, Matt Layton. We are political science nerds. Both have been, I'm actively in public office. Matt has been in public office. And so, we both know what it means to campaign, run, and serve public tenures. And so, tonight, we're actually going to talk about something that is about being educated in who your representatives are and kind of what they do. We talked a little bit last week about knowing their platforms and knowing who's behind them and who's supporting them. But now we're going to talk about like what does your representative actually do at the Capitol? We have a unique scenario in Pontotoc County where our Senate incumbent lost the race this last election, and he was actually the second in command in our state Senate. So he fought for a lot of things to stay in Pontotoc County, a lot of things to come to Pontotoc County. And I just want to remind everyone we're nonpartisan. We're just talking about the facts of what happens when things change. And now we have a junior senator going to the Capitol because that's how democracy works. You lose an election, you secede the seat without any issues, and then you go about your business. And
Hopefully,
so,
hopefully
yeah.
there's the peaceful transfer of power.
And so we are going to see some changes. And so, Matt, dive into a little bit about, you've been in that place of seeing people, incumbents lose and being in a place, you were on city council, mayors losing and then having to transition mayors and stuff. Kind of what does that shift look like and how can that affect people?
Sure, and it's kind of especially about um, tenure is extremely important, right? And the experience that you've built up, and I'm talking about the longer you're in office, right? Because again, politics, especially the more local it is, it's a relationship business. We can talk about that honestly together. It's who you know, who likes you, who doesn't like you, all of these things, right? It's the Game of Thrones slash House of Cards, right? Any type of these issues that we talk about, and kind of what Quentin laid out here, right? Is so we had a senator that was representing, you know, Ada, Oklahoma, kind of our home base, so to speak. And I think he'd been in the Oklahoma Senate going on 12 years, 10 years at least. Went all the way up the ranks within his party, won several elections, and Quentin said it right off, was one of the most powerful people in the Oklahoma Senate, right? I mean, there may be one or two people above him, and probably one of those is the governor in terms of um, political power and experience, and just the fact that he knows everyone, and you can get things done, right? You know how the wheels of government work, and you know where and when to apply that grease. So great guy. I know him personal, but what we're talking about here is he was recently in the last election was upset by an up and comer, right? So the I think Quentin said the second most powerful man in the Oklahoma Senate lost his position to I'm assuming a brand new guy to politics. I didn't know him before, and I don't know if he's held any offices before. And you know what? I honestly don't even know what his policy platform is, and is if it was that much different than his opponent that he won over. But really, what I'm most interested in thinking about, talking about, and seeing what happens is how does that shift impact the people that voted for the new guy to overcome to beat the incumbent, right? So again, you're switching out someone who's arguably done a lot of good for the Pontotoc County and the city of Ada, Oklahoma. We can argue whether that's true or not. But again, if someone was going to get their way, it's going to be the second most powerful man in the Senate, above and beyond probably one of or the most junior senator in the state legislature. And I think we can even say this, right? They're both Republicans. So I
Hmm.
mean, probably around the edges there were policy differences and idea differences, but in the big picture of things, they were basically for the same things, right? At the end of the day, it was
Right.
probably a popularity contest. And was it is it a good idea to switch out the guy that is a known commodity? He's had success. He's popular, at least in the state government. Um, he can get things done and has gotten things done. So
Yeah.
should or what are the reasons why you would give that up and give it over to a brand new person, right? And kind of lose a lot of that focus that could have been there.
Yeah. To your point, Matt, you kind of have this place of whether you like the incumbent or not, do you know what they're doing for you? And are you educated their entire tenure or just the 6 months from someone filing to run against them and then all the honestly trash mail we get against everybody? I mean, if you believe all of it, then you think none of them are worth office, candidly.
Right.
Democrat, Republican, Libertarian. I wanted to count one day. I got like 15 pieces of mail, and from my party, from the other party, and from parties I didn't even know existed, telling me why all of them are bad. And I agree. All of them are bad most of the time. So there's not really a good choice sometimes. But knowing what this leader did is important, and what he fought for, and knowing the tenure in which he served. And you're talking about someone who potentially could have run for governor of Oklahoma had that tenure lasted longer, and he maybe wanted to step in, or even the legislation of the state suggests that, hey, you may be a great governor, you've been a great senator, you've been a great house leader, you've been these things, committee leaders. So there are things in which districts in themselves give up, kind of to your point, based on listening to kind of what we'll call them. I can't think of the term right now, but just like kind of public meetings held while the person's at work, the
Mm-hmm.
people are chattering at home because they don't see them. Well, when they're in session, they're working, and when they're not in session, they're here still working. And so it's really important to understand what is your elected officials actually fighting for. And politics isn't like a business. In my case, I believe, is that we work both for an organization where we can have executive leaders replaced and removed and a new one come in, and they may do better. It may have been time for a change. But in this case, this leader, to Matt's point, is going to have a much weaker voice. Is if he has a loud voice, it's not going to be respected because his tenure and dues aren't going to be paid. Like it or not, politics is a pay your dues kind of sport. And there's a lot that the District of Pontotoc County that may secede to other places that have more senior leaders.
Yeah, and that's 100% right. That's that's it. This guy could be a freaking star and the best politician that Oklahoma has ever seen. But right, we know that there is a pecking order, and we know where he's going to be on that pecking order, and how much better does he have to be to overcome the 5, 6, 7, 10, 15 years it's going to take for him to build up the experience and the belief in the other lawmakers to get to where we were before we had this election and we we lost a long-term senator. And that's,
Yeah,
to
and
me, that's really the key. And it goes back to the last time we talked about, are you an informed voter? Which
mhm.
absolutely I'm all for. If the fools aren't doing their job and they're doing terrible, vote them out. Put someone new in. But when you do that, you also have to understand all of the consequences, right? It's not, oh, I did he was a fool. He voted against XYZ, and my you know sales tax went up. Well, okay, maybe, but does that offset, right, the known or unknown that you're going to replace him with?
Yeah, and I think one other point, an important point in this is ask the other person in legislation. Like this was a senator. If you had questions, ask the House of Representative rep for the district, who are you voting for? Like he's also a Republican. Who is your vote going to? Because this is a guy who's going to work hand in hand with this other guy. And we say guy because they were actually men. There was no women that were in the actual election. They were in the primaries, but didn't make it to the runoff. Be informed and contact his office and say, hey, I've just got a question. I'm on the fence. I'm not sure this person's in doing anything. Can you give me any advice? And they may say, like, hey, you're right. We need to get this person out because I go to the House floor and I fight for Pontotoc County, and then I hear across the chamber they're giving everything away. So everything I vote yay for, they're voting nay for. So we're canceling each other out. Or you may hear like, nope, we're fighting for you guys. He's here as long as I am. Sometimes I get here, he's already here, or I'm leaving, and he's just getting started in meetings. So that being informed, Matt keeps saying that. That's so important to be informed. You have a right to call your representatives. You have a right to send them emails and they'll answer you, especially at the state level. Now, you are not going to send Senator Lankford an email and he's probably going to answer us. He might. We've had him over at where we work. He's been there to campaign before, so he might. But absolutely reach out to the other chamber member and say, like, hey, I just got some questions, just want to be informed and make the right decision because there are things, we ask for more jobs, we ask for better taxes, these things. Well, when you have a senior senator leave the House, you lose that voice of fighting for jobs.
Yeah,
You
because
lose that.
that senior senator, again, rightly or wrongly, we can call it pork barrel spending, whatever you want to talk about it, right? But that senior senator is the first person that's going to get his wish list in a bill, and he's going to get the spending approved for it. Again, the junior senators are going to be at the end looking for the crumbs that fell off the table.
Yeah. And they're honestly a junior senator, or we'll just say junior legislator. They're just going to be looking to tie their name to any bill they can that's going to get yayed and voted through so they get some credibility. And so, again, we're not saying we're upset the incumbent lost. We're not saying we're upset the person won. That's democracy. And like it, love it or not, that's how our elections work. If you don't know what democracy is, we can definitely do a podcast over what is actual democracy. But that term informed voter, Matt keeps putting out there, is exactly what I feel too, is being informed and making sure you know who you're voting out and who you're voting
Yeah,
in.
then you said it perfectly, right? There are many different levels to informed. I mean, I could think I'm informed if I read someone's policy platform, and there may be one or two issues on there that differs from the other guys. So, I agree with him 90% and I agree with the other guy 70. So that's my vote. And yeah, absolutely. You're probably more informed than 80+% of the electorate out there. But kind of what we're talking about is, I would even argue, equally or more important. It's just another level deeper of, are you informed, right? Do you know the outcome of your actions if you get your way? And I would argue the majority of the people that voted for the challenger against the incumbent didn't even consider the fact that, okay, that's great, you've got a new face in there, new fresh ideas, new way forward, change, whatever you want to say, but you've lost all the experience, right? And you've lost being first on the pecking list when it comes to what's best for your area.
Yeah, and especially for districts like Pontotoc County and Ada, uh, we're southeastern Oklahoma, and like it or not, the metro areas like Tulsa, Oklahoma City, Bartlesville, things like that, they get higher order and most of the time higher priority because that's where that's where the governor's office wants jobs to go. It's what's more attractive to other companies when we bid out as a state. I don't know if you know, as people, we bid out for people to bring their companies here when the economic flight was happening out of California. Oklahoma was bidding to get some of these companies, and we were offering land and tax cuts and breaks and things. And states do that all the time. So, one, when you hear that, don't freak out. Don't let someone tell you a politician's getting paid for that. That's their job, is to attract business, to keep our state in the black.
Yeah, and
But it go ahead, man.
no, so you hit on another important thing that I just actually thought about, right? Because again, that's where the population centers are, right? The Oklahoma City area, the Tulsa metropolitan area. And so just, by way of where the people are, that's where the concentration of the representatives are, right? So again, if you're living in a less populated area, but you can elevate your representative up to leadership in the state government, that's probably even a more outside representation you're going to get, right? Because yes, they're all going to do what's best for the whole, right? And if the large
Mhm.
population centers are OKC and Tulsa, nothing's going to get through that's going to hurt those areas. But if your representative happens to be leading one of the houses of government in the state, a lot of things can get through and by that probably aren't as important to Oklahoma City and Tulsa, right? And you can think probably primarily, you know, agricultural type issues, tax issues around ag or oil and gas and things like these that the guy living in the city probably doesn't care nor think about
Yeah.
nor even want, right? But again, that's just another level on that, being informed that you've got lesser and I hate to say lesser representation, but when you live in an area that's less populated than the population centers, that's where the representation is going to be focused.
Yeah, I mean, let's just be honest. Like it or not, you bring less value to the office of the governor. And whether Governor Stitt would say Ada brings less value or not, there's an argument that we do. We don't. We're not as alluring as having the thunder in our backyard or having the drillers over there to win people. And so bringing things to Ada is very hard. And getting business and money and dollars from Oklahoma City to Ada is a very hard job. It's very tricky. And so when you vote an incumbent out who honestly can go sit in the governor's office and demand a meeting with them and get that meeting for someone, again, don't know how he's going to govern. We hope he does a great job, but can candidly send an email and the governor say, I have no clue that I didn't even know you were a legislator. Sorry, you can talk to the lieutenant governor about this. That hurts a district. And so, again, being informed of what you're giving up. And Matt talked about this last time, not letting your emotions run your ballot ticket and being like, well, I just don't like someone's last name. I don't like someone, for better or worse, our representatives' spouses work, you know, in our area and they're both teachers. And so, that she gave my son a C on that test, I'll never vote for him. That's an emotional decision. Your son probably deserved a D and she gave a C knowing her. And so you can let emotions dictate your vote, or you can be an informed voter and realize what you're giving up. And one big thing, and I just keep thinking about it, and I'm going to say it, is the fight to keep cleat in Ada is always a big deal because it's out here on our kind of western front, and we have it, and we train a lot of officers out here, but it is absolutely attractive to the metro areas to have that training facility in and around them. And so that's an argument that our legislators fight for is to keep it here, the facilities here, keep the trainers here. And those are things that we help this junior senator continue to help our House.
Unless, unless I like to speed going north out of Ada, and it's freaking training day for
They're
all
all
those
lined up.
cadets. So you're probably going to get a ticket. So I could easily have an emotional response to getting pulled over
Yeah,
as I'm leaving Ada back to Oklahoma City. But I
absolutely.
shouldn't. I shouldn't, right?
Right. And
Well,
that's
hey,
the
you
whole
know
point.
what? Maybe I should, but think about it, right? Don't
Yeah.
don't just immediately react.
Yeah. And that's the whole point is Matt was talking earlier, and I was thinking about this. You shouldn't be still debating with the ballot in your hand. An informed voter goes to the voting line knowing who they're going to vote for, not thinking about it in line, not tussling with it. And I'll be honest, if you're still going back and forth about who to vote for, then do a little bit more research. Don't go vote at 8 o'clock in the morning if you're still torn. Do a little bit more research. Go when you are for sure and don't stand there just thinking about who should I pick, blah blah blah. Be informed before you go to the ballot box. And you guys may think it's odd that we're talking about this now, kind of in the political off season. We don't have an election coming up anytime soon. But that's why it's important to talk about being informed now, because now is the time to start reading about our representatives because they will be coming up in another 2 years. These guys have to run every 2 to 4 years. So,
Yeah, and I'm gonna agree and I'm gonna disagree with you on that last point. I mean, if you've thought about it and researched and understand all of the people running for an office, and if it's just neck and neck, and you walk in and you have to make a selection even though you're not fully sure, great, right? I would only say don't let that be the first time you think about it. And I think that's exactly the point Quinton's trying to make here is, you know, don't let that be the first time you've had any of these thoughts going through your head is when you've got the ballot in your hand and you're starting to check and then you start doing your, due diligence. It's too freaking late then.
yeah. Yeah, it's like you ordered chicken, but you wanted steak, and the waiter's coming out with it already. So you made an executive decision. You can't go back on it. And
Yeah, and
so
we are absolutely political geeks and nerds, right? And it does look like, okay, we just finished all these elections. I'm tired and sick of it. I don't want to hear about it. I'm done. Thank goodness it's over. But you know what? All of those folks that are either in office now and they're gearing up for that next election, or Joe Schmo who's out on the prairie in western Oklahoma thinking I'm going to run for election, they're thinking about it right now, right? They're putting a team together and a plan together to get your vote and to convince you to vote for them. So why shouldn't you also be thinking about, even if it's 1% of your time, right? We're not. I mean, you're not going to go out and study this crap like Quinton and I do, but just know that the people that want your vote, they're starting. They're starting now. So
yeah.
you should be as informed as they are.
And if you're someone who was completely upset, irate, or whatever about your local election, now's the time to start thinking about should I get involved as a candidate? Do I have enough passion or irritation, which I wouldn't suggest running off irritation, but do I have enough care about what's going on to put a platform together, talk about what needs to be changed, and actually run a campaign? Because now's the time. If you want to be a House a rep, start thinking about it. Campaigns open in a year and a half, 2 years for House, and that some districts. I mean, districts will open right now. Yeah, start
No, I
going
would
now.
say if I was running, I would all already started, right? So the best time to start this is today. And I think kind of what Quint's talking about, and even if you don't want to run yourself, right? So we'll just use the presidential election, for instance. I mean, if you're the type of person that's just like never Trump at all, right? you can't wait till the election and then just get mad and upset afterwards, right? If that's the way you are and you feel that strongly about, one political leaning over the other, what are you doing now, right? Or when
Hmm.
are you going to get involved ahead of the election to sway things your way, whatever that way is, right? Whether you're you know, always Trumper, MAGA movement, JD Vance is next, right? Or it's like, oh my goodness, we got to get these guys out. We got to go back. Kamala Harris or whoever, Gavin.
Right. Matt
Guys
yanked his microphone out.
excited. Whether it's Gavin Newsom or Kamala Harris, who just my only point is, and it's about informed and getting involved, is you can't armchair quarterback. You can't get mad the night of or the morning after and your world's melting down if you weren't involved and weren't doing something about it, previous and before. And there's a whole lot of people that do participate, but there's multitudes and magnitudes more that don't, but then like to commentate after and say how terrible it is, bad decision. Well, the people the people make the decision, whether you agree with the people or disagree, whether you're in the majority or the minority. In the
Yeah.
United States, the people still make the decision.
Yeah. And I would suggest at your local level, get involved, find out what your party's doing, if they're doing anything. If your candidate won, reach out to them, be like, how can I help you now that you've won the election? Can I do anything to help you? Because being in office is a big part of campaigning. Candidly, the incumbent didn't campaign well as far as Matt and I are concerned. We don't think his first reaction was a reaction to basically an attack ad. And so we would have loved to see him do some more campaigning, but ask how you can help, ask how you can get involved, ask what you can do. And again, if you feel that moved or passionate about who won or who lost, put your name on the ballot. See what it is to run. Most offices, you don't have to quit your job, especially at the local level, city council, school board, things like that. You can do after hours, or they're all after hours because people are bivocational in those situations. So find a way to get involved more than just sticking a yard sign or a bumper sticker on and saying, like, I'm doing my part. You may not be if you're not actually out doing something and campaigning or evangelizing for your party and candidate.
Yeah, yeah. If it's not you, right, find who it is and help them, support them, talk to your talk to your friends and family and neighbors about them, right? Everyone believes their opinion is, weighs a lot, right? Because we see all these Facebook, Instagram posts where people, telling their feelings. Okay, if you've got feelings, support a position, right? Again, don't complain and bitch and moan after, right?
Yeah.
Get behind something and support it, right? Funnel your beliefs productively. That's all I would say.
Yep. I think that's all we got to talk about this week. Next week we'll be talking about, we haven't really decided what we're going to talk about next week. So um I think we're on this kind of journey of just we work together so we kind of figure out what we want to talk about next. We may talk about what does it look like if you want to be a candidate, what does that look like of building your platform, finding something you want to run for, what office is actually has power, what offices don't. I think a lot of people in Oklahoma would be uh, confused on county commissioners are one of your most powerful county officials, and sometimes the most powerful. And so, if you want to do something in your county, be a county commissioner. So,
Hey, you
Matt,
know
unless you
what?
got
And
any,
so I always know there's a county commissioner race coming up when the road in front of my ranch just becomes pristine and lovely and beautiful. I'm just like, oh
yeah,
my goodness, I wish you guys got elected annually.
yeah. Every 3 years we get road work done because ours comes up. So, Matt, unless you got anything else to say, that'll be in the end of this episode of Two Dudes View. So we'll catch you guys next week.
See you guys.